of Monday, July 20th, 2020 at 6:15 p.m. Running a few minutes late, but that's fine. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting? Is there a motion? Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll raise one point of discussion on the minutes. I just noticed, and this is regarding comments where I ask a question, and this is like on the second page, the last paragraph, and I'm recalling the give and take where I simply asked kind of a question about whether we were all happy with the cleanup. And I think that Sandy, you and Chris replied that maybe it's not as cleaned up as we would like, but you were happy about a lot of other things as they're enumerated there. Was that my correct recollection, or?
Yeah, and it was correctly quoted in here. There's such a unique situation. It's hard to really call. I mean, how much cleanup is cleaned up unless we go prowl all over the property. I don't know. Did we ever set like a some gates? At this point in time, we'll check this and check off we need this done. And at this point in another quarter, do we need this done? Did we ever set? And it's a little late now. Anything for Tony to say we need to know that this much is done in the first 3 months or 6 months, and this much is done. So I don't know if we ever established anything that we can hold him to as far as a timeline. Except if we go in January or February in the snow and say, well, I don't know, it's hard to tell now.
Yeah, good point.
I think the contract has some notification dates. So the occupant has 1 year to clean up the site, or the money that is held in escrow would be used to do that work. And there's a certain milestone, I want to say it's in September, according to the contract, where significant progress has to be demonstrated. And if it's not due to the town's satisfaction, then notice can be given, and some of those funds can start being expended. And that's, according to the terms of the agreement that was signed with the current occupant. So I think in terms of, whether that took, whether or not that happened this spring or whether or not it happens at the end of the year, the amount of time was defined in the agreement. And I think we should be covered there if progress isn't happening. I thought Ray was going to give an update on that particular piece.
He is. Okay, thank you both. I just wanted to question that a little bit, but I'm good on that. Do I have a vote here? All in favor of approval? Aye. Minutes pass. Public comment. I've been informed that we have nobody in queue, but I will read the invitation anyways. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov. And then you'll be provided with a link to attend the Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how you will participate. We have none tonight, and we have no emailed preset questions. So we'll move right into the agenda. And I have asked Ray to give us just an update on the farm lease, because we were all asked to comment on waiving some insurance requirements, which we all did. And so get an update from Ray on that. The NRCS, which has been, I guess, pretty active, Ray. And then the final stage cleanup, which we're all watching closely, because that's when that final parcel we take ownership for. So in any event, I turn it over to you, Ray Carpentino.
Okay. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
You might want to announce yourself, because we can't see you.
Hello?
Yes, I was just saying, because we can't see you, your name and title.
Right. Ray Carpentino, Economic Development Director. Let me jump to the Parcel B cleanout since we touched upon that when we talked about the minutes a few minutes ago. Exactly right that there is a 240-day performance requirement in the purchase and sale agreement. That does say that if little or no progress, and that's quote, is not being made within 240 days or by 240 days, which really is September 24th, then the town has the authority to access the property and start utilizing the escrow money to clean up what has not been cleaned up. We have to give Mr. Straska the 21-day notice as specified in the purchase and sale, but he does have 365 days to clean up and to move off the property.
And Ray, so just, I guess how that would work, I think we're all hoping that we don't necessarily have to go through any or incur any additional heartburn, but on September 24th, there would be a determination made as to the level of progress. And if it is found to be, not sufficient, or I guess little to no progress, then we would give a 21-day notification. And then at that point, that would put us like mid-October. At that point, if there was still no progress, that's when the town will be able to access the site and start expending funds.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless Mr. Straska starts cleaning up significantly within a 21-day period, or cleans out within that 21-day period. And we've already reached out to Mr. Straska's attorney, requesting Mr. Straska to allow us to maybe jump in a little sooner. Utilizing the escrow money instead of waiting to the last 240th day. But we haven't heard back on that particular request yet.
That could be helpful to our farmers.
Ray,
Yeah, good.
question on the parcel B cleanup paragraph. First paragraph, last line. Does that say there has been no response to the town on your July 6th request?
Right.
This is okay. So there was no response. Okay.
Yeah, no response to that particular request.
Well, I don't know that would be unexpected, because that would,
Right.
there was a sale, there's money held in escrow, and the current owner would start, losing money out of that escrow fund if the town were accessing it. So I guess that would be more of a question of, is there a reason why it's, I don't know, more of a hassle to pay out of the escrow fund instead of doing it, themselves. But I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they say no to that, since they have another half of the year left. Hopefully, ideally we would see progress on the site. We wouldn't have to go through that, step. That'd be easier for everybody, I think.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Personally, based on my, knowing Mr. Straska, I don't personally believe he has any intention of cleaning the site up. I think come February, he's just going to walk away from it.
Right. Well, if that were the case, then by mid-October, if we have with the contract that we have in place, if it turns out that nothing has happened in September, then we can do that notification, and by February, we'll have it cleaned up, I guess. I don't know, Ray, if there's an estimate of if the town's done any legwork in terms of assessing the cost and the time to pull that material off site.
We're compiling a list of salvage yards, some auto salvage yards. It depends. It could be a very minimal cost, depending on the value of what these different salvage yards fee, or it could be a very high cost. If they don't want any of the material, if they can't make money. So we'll probably start putting together some information for RFQ or RFP if we have to. But that's in the background right now. We're doing research on that.
Right. This is John. I have a question with regards to what can be done in parallel of the cleanup. Will this cause impedance for the farmers to do anything on the land while we're faced
No.
with risk
No,
of-
the cleanup parcel B does not affect the 3 leases at all.
So it wouldn't affect the signing of the leases, but would it affect the execution of preparing anything on the land though for this year?
No, not for the 3 farm plots. No, it would not.
There's no further questions on the parcel B cleanout. We can move on. Everybody good so far?
Yep.
Okay.
We can jump back up to the lease. As you all know, you passed a resolution last month that you passed on the master lease, that I termed it, to the town council for their review. It was redrafted with a couple of modifications. That was a concern to the 2 smaller farms, Gilbert Farm and Hayes Farm, and that dealt with the requirement for an umbrella insurance coverage and a waiver of subrogation clause. The added costs for that, in addition to preparing the site, for the fall and for the next growing season, would not. They just could not. They would not lease the property if we kept that waiver in. We talked to the chairman, who is fairly knowledgeable about insurance, I assume. Ed, you didn't have much of a problem with that for the first section, the first term of the lease, correct?
Yes, yeah, I tried to put a couple notes into everybody so they would, see what we were asking. Of course, the request was of council, so Sandy, I apologize. You did not get an email on that, or Brian, because we were polling council about waiving some of these insurance requirements for the lease. In any event, as a knowledgeable person in the insurance area, the extra $1 million, I definitely agree. And, until there's activity, more bodies coming and going, until I think that's perfectly normal and customary to waive that until there's more action on the site. I just didn't think, I just wouldn't want us to waive it completely, because if it's successful, we're going to want that. And the requests, I believe, the suggestions came from our insurance program, KERMA, to do this.
Right.
So good risk management process. I'm not so sure about the waiver, though. Don't think that that's a particularly expensive option, but again, until there's more activity, it's definitely okay to waive it. We have the remainder of the year for just the farmers to go on the fields and kind of kick around and do what they have to do to prep the field for the next growing season. So, under that guise, Ray, yeah, I totally recommended to everybody that waiving these conditions was also normal and customary for this phase of it.
Okay, and then we reorganized a couple of the schedules, as we did some minor modifications, adding some of the KERMA comments. But beyond that, that's the lease you saw last month is basically the lease that's went to the town council for recommendation.
Yeah, Ray, the rate, the lease rate, what is that again, just for the record?
The lease rate is $50 per acre, and it's a yearly lease.
So
Ray,
how much is any one farmer paying? Do you have the total for each farmer, what their annual rent is? Not this first, from now until December, they're doing the $1 thing, right? $1, but next year when they have control of the field for one entire year, what are their total costs per lease? Total.
Yeah, just give me 5 seconds to grab that. think the total for all three will be around $1,900 per year. So, for example, Fairweather growers. Let's see here. So they're they're about rental fee of $594.50 per year. And Gilbert Farm, $471. Hayes Farm, $552.50.
These monthly numbers or yearly numbers? You said $400.
Yearly. Yearly. Farm leases are typically, when you say $50 an acre, $100 an acre, $75 an acre, it's a year. So it's total about around 32 acres total of leased land, and that's for the first 3 years. Each year payment for 3 years.
And Ray, to determine those rates, you did like an analysis based on customary rate for this, for I guess the quality of the farmland, and you reviewed what other, what other leases were for similar uses.
Yeah, we utilize the National Agricultural Statistics Service, or the NASS, per acre values for cropland in Connecticut, and we looked at the Connecticut Farmland Bureau 490 study and input from Kip Kolzinskis, our consulting conservationist, and also a couple of farm leases in the area, talking to a farmer last year. So, the market rate is probably closer to $70, maybe $75 an acre, but because of the condition of the fields, and this is the first time out, we're trying to get, the focus is getting the property back to agriculture for the long term.
I guess we could maybe move on to the last item.
So one more question.
Yes.
On that first paragraph, it says adding to the cost of field prep as the management of the root fungus. Whose cost? Our cost or the farmer's cost for this?
Farmer's cost.
Okay.
Farmers.
All right. So that's my only question on that section.
So Ray, as you're leading into NRCS, which is where we're headed next, guys, did the farmers agree to the leases that they have before them?
They have the leases that you saw at the last meeting. We made the minor modifications, took the insurance out. John and I, the town manager, and I had met with them a week or two after the last meeting, and sat down with two of them, Gilbert Farm and Hayes Farm. He went over the lease again, talked about the insurance issues. So they have the lease.
So they don't know of the improvements yet?
Yes, they do.
Just verbally, though?
Yes.
So they haven't approved the lease yet. They could have more changes, or are they, from what they're good with the lease?
Well, from what we know, they're good with the lease. We're waiting for the town council, and I think one or two of them may be waiting to hear from NRCS as far as what they need to do, as far as some agricultural practices.
So,
Okay, so the reason for me asking that is because I understood it to be the other way around. I thought NRCS has been able to do what they need to do back and forth with Fair Acres, but is lacking communique with the other two farmers. Is that changed any? Are they good to go?
Yeah, they're not good to go yet, Ed, but it has changed. Fran Whalen has they made contact with the Farm Service Agency and also with NRCS. So he's working with them. I had several calls out or emails out to Lisa Gilbert to contact one of the conservation officers at NRCS.
Sure, I'll let you get right into NRCS. Yep.
I guess the question I have, sorry, before we go off, so where does that put us? Is there an action that this board has to take tonight, and then or also that the council has to take? It sounds like the last time we met, we were pretty close in terms of most of the language. There are a few things from KERMA, and then we had the items from NRCS that got incorporated in this lease. So does the council approve our side of the lease tonight, and then the farmers will sign later? How does that work?
Chris, my understanding is that NRCS and the soil conservation steps and practices that they want to see implemented by each farmer on this particular site have been substantially done on their side. What they're waiting for is the lights to be on at each farmer to say, yes, I see what you mean, and yes, I can do that. So it's planting, it's soil erosion and that kind of thing that, whatever extra steps or whatever cover crop or whatever, it involves certain things for each of the plots. And only one farmer has responded back totally in sync with that because he already is active with this arrangement. So my only reason for asking is because I would think that if any one farmer said no to the NRCS practices, that they wouldn't be signing a lease because they'd be in violation of the soil conservation.
They'd be in violation of the lease. NRCS, they have absolutely no regulatory authority. They're a resource, but they would be in violation of our lease because we have a clause in there that says they have to follow NRCS requirements as they relate to best management practices.
Right, and that's what I'm looking at to get, in terms of us being able to just move forward with the lease. Like, our leases aren't prescribing those NRCS practices. We're saying that you'll follow them, in working in conjunction with that organization. So, do we anticipate, or is there an action that we need to take to approve these leases from the town side just to be kind of done with it, or are we still in limbo while these discussions play out?
We're looking for approval tonight from the town council.
Okay.
This is just
Yep.
an update, and we're pretty much there. As I say, it's all a timing issue. They meet with the farmers, and they seem with going with the lease, with the changes that raise more of the KERMA ones, and so dealing with the farmers' information back as far as RCS. But we're trying to move this thing, and I think we're pretty much there. And the last formality is the town council approving the lease agreement.
Chris, it's on the agenda.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear and we didn't have to, do anything else to postpone being able to take action because our next meeting isn't for another month. And I think we're all looking forward to resolving this one.
Okay. As I had said in the memo, NRCS is in the process of preparing the overall farmland and woodlands conservation plan for the entire property for the town, and also working with the 3 individual farmers. So that's in the process. I'm told by Vivian from NRCS that they should have the overall plans for us for the town completed by the end of August.
So we want to thank you, Ray, because Vivian, I guess, significantly jumped to the quick on this plan. It normally takes longer to do, so we're thankful for her moving so quickly.
Yeah, she was very, very good.
So in terms of what we can expect, so it would be done by the end of August. So we would see this potentially at the September meeting. Is there a plan to have Vivian or somebody present to the council? There's a lot of citizen interest in this. And I don't know if it calls out things like potential trails or recreation areas or not, but what do we expect in terms of getting information about the plan out there?
I haven't talked to Vivian, but I'm hoping that she could come back in when the plan is, the draft plan, maybe when it's completed. She can come in and do an overview of the plan to the town, to the farm, to your committee, and also to the town council. And then from there, we can, the subcommittee can actually do your own informational sessions if you'd like, in more detail for the farm. Different activities, that will be laid out hopefully, and if there will be trails, where there will be, if there's wetland restoration, what that involves and how to do that, and what actions we need to take to do that.
I know we haven't talked about it as a committee, but Ray, you do have in your notes the steep grant request for a barn. And that just popped up recently, and that is on the council agenda for later. And you might, if you can speak to that quickly, we can adjourn out, and because we have council at 7, so not just to let everybody aware.
Yeah, the Connecticut municipalities have been waiting a couple of years for this steep grant to come back. I think it was it last Friday, John, or last Monday, or the state announced that they were coming out.
They announced it maybe 2 weeks ago, but then you didn't get details.
Right.
Till sometime last week, and it wasn't as generous as it has been in the past.
Right. In the past, the STEEP program allowed up to $500,000 per municipality. They lowered that to a maximum now of $128,205. It's a small grant. The deadline is very short. So, the initial reaction was, what do we do? That we have capital projects to go way over that. So, what about on the farm? So it was, why not do one of those like prefab barn structures on parcel B? That the timeline works, because these grants now are for 2 years. They used to be 1, plus they allow another extension. So we're looking at probably a 3-year timeline to clean out parcel B, and not just the material, but also landscaping, get that prepped. And there's a very good possibility, we can get a structure up there for instruction and or storage or other activities that the town may think of to utilize that barn. Maybe, depending on the cost, maybe maybe more than one structure. But right now, we need to have a resolution passed, and it has to be included in the application I submit, which is due August 14th. So we just had to get this going. So we threw it on the agenda to get a resolution passed.
Ray,
Any
how does
questions?
that? Yes.
Could I make a comment? No.
Go for it, Sandy.
I'm sorry, Sandy?
Yeah, thank you. To that point, I think this would be amazing to go for this. And as Chris said, there's a lot of citizen interest. They're very happy. Well, they will be happy to know the farmers are on there. But if we could also say, hey, we're also working on a town piece. And a lot of people have understood this could take years. But if we could say, maybe in 2 years, we'll have a structure and some landscaping, it'll be presentable. I just think this is wonderful. We can get this in. It seems like we could do what we need for that amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Does that grant, how does the STEEP grant work? Do we have to, is it like a 50% match, or is it just, what does the town have to outlay to get that grant?
Well, for the past 20 years, there has been no match requirement. Now this year, they require a town match. However, there is no minimum or maximum required. And also, I asked if we can use existing funds expended on a project, and they said yes.
Mhm.
So if in my application, what's the town contribution? I can just say $7 million. I think that would go a long way. I hope.
Yeah, because the positive thing, and I'm not sure, you mentioned landscaping, but depending on what we need to do, we might need to we probably need to knock that house down, and it sounds like we might need to do some filling or grading to take care of some of the stuff that pops up in the environmental, for the parking area.
Yeah,
If we can
there
get
are a
that
number of
done,
things.
that would
Yeah.
be very positive. If we can get that done through a grant.
Now, the steep grant is more emphasizes construction.
Well, I mean, would we raise a creative guy? Can that be part of the site work for the barn?
Construction,
Site work for the
destruction?
barn, right? A parking lot, cover the contaminated area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to, when the site gets cleaned off, we need to do a couple more testing, environmental testing, and then the house. And then we lay out the barn or the structures we'll be putting up. But, it's very doable within a 2-year period to do those activities.
Great.
And we'll use our imagination.
Any other questions, Brian or John Malaro? Brian Clemens?
I have no other questions.
The only thing I had was, I think we need to get this lease finalized. It seems like every meeting we talk about the lease, and we come back next meeting, lease again. I think like people have said, there's been a lot of interest in the town about this land. I think the people in town want to see some work being done on this land, whether it's the farmers out there. Clearly, Mr. Straka is not going to do anything to clear the land of his mess. He has done it in the last 50 years. He's not going to do it in the next few months. I think progress needs to be seen on the land, especially for the price that the town paid for it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Malaro?
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay. If that's it, guys, we can adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
We can make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
All right.